It's New Year's Day. Nichole Lowe had 75 coaches on her new platform, an investor on the hook for nearly $1 million, and a product she had spent 5 years building from a dream she couldn't let go of. But then, it all broke. The investor said, "Call us in March." She didn't have enough money left to last until March, so she did what any reasonable person would do. She broke down and told her husband, "I'm done. I give up." He got the bikes out. They rode all day, literally to the end of the trail, and somewhere on that ride, she found the answer she couldn't from a desk, a spreadsheet, or a pep talk. She left her corporate career without a safety net because, in her words, she was more afraid of staying than leaving. She built a health coaching practice from a 10 by 10 room. She lost nearly everything to a cyber attack. She covered her clients' payments out of her own pocketbook when her payment processor fell apart. And through all of it, she built Zoee, the all-in-one practice management platform for health and wellness coaches, because she saw a problem that no one else was fixing, so she set out to fix it. So today on the Radigan Roundtable, we're getting into all of it. This is part 2 with Nichole Lowe. So before you listen to this one, go check out part 1. But we're covering the fear, the pivots she made, the moments she almost quit, and what she would tell you if you're sitting on the fence right now about making a change in your career. I'm Scott Radigan. Let's get into part 2 with Nichole Lowe of Zoee.com. What gave you the audacity to try to build your own solution?
I think it's the same thing, Scott. It's like not thinking it through from when I pivoted in my life. It was like, I just came home one day. I looked at my husband. I'm like, I'm going to build a tech company. He's like, of course you are.
Given your background, that makes sense.
Given your background, hand me the remote and I'll show you again how to do it. I am the least likely person, I think, to build a tech company. But here's what I knew at the time. There was a problem. And my husband tells me this all the time. He's like, you are so wired. When you see a problem, you're just like, you cannot stop until you solve that problem. And that's what was happening. I saw this problem. I'm like, this problem has to be fixed. I'm trying to find all these plugins. I'm trying to find all this stuff to fix this, and I can't fix it. And so finally I'm like, fine, it needs to be fixed. I'm going to fix it. So, in that moment, I'm like, I'm going to build a tech company. Okay. Well, that's when the producer came out in front of me. I mean, that's when you can't build a film and know everything. You have to find a director, a writer, you have to find the talent, you have to find the choreographer, you have to find all these people. And so that's what I started to do. I just started to network and call people and say, well, who do you know? Well, do you know anybody in startup? Do you know any engineers? So I just started doing that for about 2 years. I mean, from my thought to actually getting that prototype, it was a good, like I'd say year and a half before I actually put pen to paper.
So this is now what year? What year are we talking about?
Um, this is probably this is probably 20, when I first came up with the idea, it was 2019. Actually, in 2016, I sort of had a moment. My husband always says 2016, I had this like epiphany in this moment. But it was 2018 when I actually was serious about the thought. And then 2019 is when I started. It was like pre-COVID when I started doing the research.
So, all right, you have this idea to build a tech company because the existing solutions out there weren't working for you or for your clients. Where do you even begin to start? I know you have a producer background, but that doesn't mean you know how to start a tech company. So walk me through like, yes, this is what I want to do. And did you go to the library and check out books? Like, how did this even work?
The first thing I did was we had moved from California to North Carolina, and we bought this beautiful mountain house. I don't know what what we're thinking, like leaving California, we bought this mountain house and we're living near Asheville. It's absolutely gorgeous, 3,000 elevation, Colorado, just absolutely amazing. And it was really a good time for us to just sort of kind of relax and take a nap and just decompress from the craziness of, California, just like living in this intense world. So I was horseback riding, we were running, we were very active, we were hiking all the time. And it was during that time when I was still so I was just starting to bring my practice online. And I still had clients in California, and they all agreed. They're like, yeah, we can do phone, we can do Zoom. And so I was doing that. And I became certified in DBT, dialectical behavioral therapy. And during that time, I don't know why I'm going off on this, but so I became certified in DBT. And during that time, my mom also She got diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. And being an only child, that really required, I mean, any children, but like I had to be in Minnesota and take care of her during that time. And during that time is when I got certified in DBT, partly because she knew a person who's written a book about it and certifies people. And it was amazing. I mean, she was given 3 months to live. And you know what? She's still alive today, 10 years later.
Wow.
And again, it was power of prayer. I was working with her doctor, helping her with like juicing and just helping her with clean eating and stress reduction and laughter. It was just like everything that I learned, I was complementing her treatment plan. And the chemo didn't work. That's when she was given 3 months to live. But then just out of nowhere, it was when Optivo hit the market, which is immuno therapy. And so we went on that. It was experimental at the time, and she's still alive today. So it's incredible. And again, just reinforces how resilient the body is and how incredibly important it is that we understand that what we feed it, whether it's what we think, what we eat, what we do, our surroundings, our environment has such a big impact on our health. It's just, but we're also super resilient because the body's always trying to get back to homeostasis. So if you give it half a chance, the liver can regenerate, the body can regenerate. It's just extraordinary. But so to answer your question, I digress there, but to answer your question, what we did during that time, I'm researching, I'm going online, I'm taking these little online classes to understand technology and understand apps and stuff like that. But somehow I found this organization in Raleigh-Durham called CED. And it's an organization that's based on an MIT mentorship program. And you have to apply and present to get into it as a startup founder. And so I told my husband we got to go to Durham. And he's like, all right. So we drove down the hill and we drove to Durham from Asheville, and I set up a meeting, and I set up another meeting, and then they invited me to present to the board. So I presented to the board and, in my little PowerPoint presentation and my little idea, and I presented. And again, I had nothing to show them other than this is my idea and I'm really excited about it. And so, by the grace of God, they accepted me. And it was it was that moment when everything opened up. I was able to meet everybody in the startup and the tech world in the Triangle here in North Carolina. And that's what really set things in motion for me.
So what did we build first, and does that exist still today in the initial versions?
There's some things that are still like the first thing I did in the prototype was this like cool little trying to remember what I used. It was like Adobe Illustrator, Adobe something. And there's some stuff in there that we have today, but it was more like a client facing app where they go in, they connect with the coach, and then the coach has got, like connect with the coach and chat with the coach, and then schedule a session with the coach. And that's, essentially what we have now. It's just much bigger, and it's just much more of that practice management side of things that became this thing.
So it sounds like you had tools that weren't working as far as the tech side of things, but also the bigger problem that you were trying to address is that there's just a marketplace that is kind of not perfect or not near perfect, and that people looking for coaching can't find it or don't even know they're looking for it. And coaches are struggling to find clients. And so that was the initial idea,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
What is it now?
Yeah, now it's an all-in-one practice management platform. We are offering like everything you need to build a really strong, stable, simple business. It is the practice management in HIPAA compliant communication, secure portals for your clients. It is like built-in video hub and client management, note taking. We give a free website with your membership too, so you can build out your brand. You can upload videos and social media and testimonials and all that kind of stuff. And so that's what the infrastructure is today. And we also do have a marketplace. So coaches go into the marketplace where clients can find them. And that's really an area that we want to continue to expand on. We're starting to put more SEO into it, more, just understanding what people are looking for. can help bring more clients in. But that's definitely on the roadmap. But right now it's this simple get up and running in a couple hours. Our biggest thing, Scott, is simplicity. One of my mentors once told me that if you have multiple right solutions in front of you, they're all right. Pick the simplest one. It is so incredibly important, especially now with AI and with how things are moving so fast. It's really important that we don't get bogged down in the busy work and the noise, because at the end of the day, it's not the $10,000 website and logo that's going to get you new clients. Just keep it simple. Keep that stuff simple and focus on what matters, which is building your community and your connections.
So would you say, faced with you're coaching health coaches, you're coaching health coach clients of your own still at this point, that you chose the simple path in starting a new technology company?
Now, I'm acting like an expert in this area because I've learned a few things and I'm still learning on the job. No, I did not take the simplest path whatsoever. That's why I'm preaching it now.
So what drew you to this, and would you make the same decision now knowing what it takes to get here today?
I absolutely would have made the same decision. I would have chose the simplest path. I made things way too complicated for Zoee when I first started Zoee. I really did. And I think that in the end, and what I mean by simplicity is I spent a lot of time thinking about things that just I didn't need to think. I didn't need to spend so much time on. I spent a lot of time thinking about, marketing before I even had a product. So when I look back, I think, I could have done things a little quicker, but, it's the journey that got me here to be able to, with every part of my being and every cell in my body, say simplicity really has a lot of power when you're thinking about things that are just noisy stuff, busy stuff.
Yeah. Would you say there was a time that, you've come a long way and it's the journey? And I firmly believe that anybody having their own company or starting their own new thing, it's as much a personal transformation as a business transformation. Like it's personal development and you have to address your own demons a little bit. Was there a time where you almost quit or people were like, this isn't going to work and you believed them?
Yeah. 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 And I truly believe that, Scott, too. Like, when you're in business for yourself, you must be on a personal development journey because you will show up in business the way you show up in life. And if there's any unresolved stuff going on or things that are keep coming up in your life, patterns, so if you've got a challenge with shiny object syndrome, things like this is going to come up in business. Yes, there was one moment, for sure, that uncharacteristically, I actually had given up, and it was my husband that walked me through it. For anyone listening who has gone down the road of trying to raise money, investors and technology is expensive. It was a lot more expensive a few years ago than it is now with AI and all that. It's hard. It's really, really hard to grow thick skin. The things that they say to you, it's just unbelievable. You would not say to a friend. It's hard to get so many no's. It's hard when you're a visionary and you see something. Like I knew in my heart, like I have competitors now. There wasn't competition 5 years ago. And I knew that it was speed to market. I knew that we had to get there quickly. And trying to communicate that to investors was really hard. Well, I did. My first investor is an amazing guy, and he's still with me today. His wife is a therapist, and he really understood like coaching and therapy and what I was trying to do and uplift humanity. And so he said, I always invest in the jockey, not the horse. And I know that you're going to do it. Whatever it is, I know you're going to be successful. And so he gave me money. And that allowed me to get a beta. So I hired a team, and it was an offshore team because at the time I could not afford it, an onshore team. And so I hired this team. And the whole point of building this beta was we had to raise more money. So I
Hmm.
had the beta work. I had to get customers on. I had to show the traction, and I had to show that this is going to work. That was my goal. That was the job. So I got the prototype done. In the first 7 days, I got 75 coaches who signed up. It was unbelievable. It just went, poof. 75 coaches signed up. It was like 50 or 75. They signed up immediately, got them on, got it working, got an investor, a local investor who was super excited, on the hook for about $500 to $1 million right before Christmas. Everything's going to happen. And Zoe broke. It broke. And when I mean it broke, it broke. Coaches were upset. Clients were upset. Everybody was upset. It was all very upsetting. And this was sort of our last leg financially. We needed this win. This was like Michael and I needed this win desperately bad. So it happened. I called the investor and they were like, well, that's unfortunate. Why don't you give us a call in March? This is December. Why don't you give us a call in March? Q1, maybe Q2. We didn't have enough to last until March. I didn't have enough. Michael and I didn't have enough. We were literally at that decision where I was contemplating going back to get a corporate gig at that time because it was that bad. So I just broke down. I said, I'm giving up. I said, I gotta do this. I can't do this. And Michael said to me, no, you're not. I'm like, Michael, there are no alternatives. I cannot solve this problem. Not even I can solve it. He's like, well, no, you're not. You are not giving it. You are not giving up. It was New Year's Day. And all I wanted to do is stay in bed all day and like binge watch Heartland or something, right? Or whatever I was watching at the time. I can't remember what I was watching at the time. He's like, no, get up. We're going to go. And I'm like, we're going to go for a bike ride. Get your bike out. I said, no, I don't want to do it. Nope, get your bike. He got the bikes out. He said, get on the bike and we're going to ride it out until you have a different answer. Who is this man? Bossy. And so we got on the bike and we went on our favorite trail and we were just riding and we rode for what felt like forever. And we pulled over and I was crying and he's like, nope, not yet. We rode some more. We pulled over. I was still emotional. He's like, nope, not yet. Scott, we rode all day. And my husband was so committed that he was going to ride, even if it took riding for 24 hours throughout the night until I got to the place where I was willing to figure it out. And we literally, so metaphorically, we literally got to the end. We're on the tobacco trail, so it goes on for miles and miles and miles. And we literally got to the end. Like there was no more road. There was a bench. And he goes, what do you think? And I was like, okay. So we sat down and we talked it out. And Michael and I just made a plan. He said, Monday morning, you're going to call your investor back and you're going to tell him, I don't accept calling you back in March. We needed the money now. And here's why. And I did. And I called the investor back. And with all my confidence, I said, this is what we need. And I need the money now. And because I cannot do what you want me to do in the next 3 months without the money. And so I'm going to give it up. And he said, okay, I'll invest. So he invested.
What would have happened if he said no?
I don't know. Oh my gosh, Scott. I think because I was so filled up after that ride with my husband, I think I would have figured it out. I think I would have, I don't know, but you know what? I don't even know what I would have done, Scott. It would have been really, really hard. I think after that ride, I was back in I'm not giving up. I'm not going to give up. I'm going to keep persevering. So I think I would have just figured it out.
So for anyone listening, if you're ready to give up, just ride your bike for 12 to 15 hours until you have a solution. Is that the guidance you'd give younger Nichole?
Yes. Sometimes, especially if you're like me and you're just full, you got to like move to work through it. Move. Just get moving until you're exhausted. That's my advice.
Okay, so it broke. You almost broke. Everybody's mad at you. Previous investors are probably concerned. This guy is like, I don't know, not yet. If it's broken, sorry, I'm not going to give you money for a broken product. What was it that you said that was able to convince him? Do you remember?
I think it was when I said, you know what, Justin, here's the deal. You believe in me. You even said yourself, like, my other investor said that you invest in the jockey, not the horse. I know that I'm going to make this happen. I don't know how long, I don't know how long this is going to take me, but I know in my heart of hearts that I'm going to make this happen. But what I also know is that you need these KPIs. You need to see progress. I cannot make that happen without money. So if you don't invest, I can't get the numbers that you need. but I guarantee you, I promise you, you give me that money that we will get through the next, 3 to 6 months and get this traction that you want to see. So that's when he said yes. So, it ended up being 12 months, but
Yeah, it always takes longer. It's more
I
expensive than you think.
knows that too. Like when he said yes, I'm sure he's like, all right, okay, I'm in.
Okay. And then what did you learn at this point in time that like you carry with you today? Like what did that experience give you that besides just, the solution to go ride a bike for all day, what internally did that kind of do for you as you continued your journey personally?
Um, there's two things. One is that it took me right back to that first sales win that I had, that first big win, that first $1 million deal. And I didn't say earlier that I had lost the deal. And I was with my husband at the time. We drove down to San Diego together and I came out and I said I lost it. And he says, "No, you didn't. I want you to go right back in." God, he's like, I'm giving him all the credit. He says, "I think you should go right back in and you should fight for it." And I'm like, I've lost to my competition. I mean, da 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 da. He's like, "Go back in." And so I went back in and I got it and I won. And so what this taught me is that it's not over until it's over. Just because someone says it's over doesn't make it so. That there's always a way. There's always a way and you can figure it out. I truly believe that that's what taught me about this. And it also taught me that sometimes when you have something in front of you, there's a reason why there's a delay or a pushback or hardness about it or a challenge about it, because it's these little moments that has made me a stronger leader. It's made me a stronger CEO for my team. It's made me a stronger coach and it's just made me stronger. And I would not be where I am right now. Still a work in progress, but I wouldn't be here on the journey had I not pushed through those difficult times.
I mean, that's pretty resilient. And someone observing from the outside might be like, wow, she's got lots of courage or resilience. What does that feel like on the inside though? Because that's an emotional journey, right? Hearing no, picking
Mm,
yourself off the ground and then going back in, or hearing no lots of times, people being mean to you in the fundraising phase, and then getting a big win with this Christmas Day, New Year's Day, second round or whatever, new round of investment. How do those journeys go inside? And how do you manage those emotional roller coasters?
yeah, I think when we're younger, um, I was just thinking about this the other day. When we're younger, you have more time to recover and your body can handle it more. Your body can handle the extremes more than you can when you start to get older. And what this has taught me is that the roller coaster ride is on one part on the positive side, you know that you're truly alive. I'll go back to that moment when I left my corporate gig. I did not want to, I was more afraid of staying than I was of leaving. And so I chose the roller coaster ride. I chose this life, and Michael and I chose this. I think it's harder on our family and friends sometimes than us because we're all, like 1 minute they don't know if they're gonna like we're gonna show up and we're like everything's bad, and then the next time they see us, everything's great, kind of a thing. But what it's taught me too is that through this process, because of the aging like as we get older, it's also taught me that it's really important for you to take time to rejuvenate, to fill yourself back up. Because the mountains, they may not get higher, they may get higher, they may get harder, but the mountains get harder because you're constantly climbing. It's like a constant climb when you're an entrepreneur. So in those moments when you're in the valley, not that valley, but the good valley, it's really, really important that you take time to actually fill yourself back up mentally, emotionally, spiritually, whatever that is. Go ride it out, go to church, be in prayer, meditate, do your spiritual stuff, connect with your friends and family that fill you up. Don't deplete your energy, but that actually fill you up. Those are the things that you have to do if you're gonna ultimately survive the race, so to speak, and thrive in it.
Are you at a point today where you would think, yeah, things have gotten easier?
I'd love to be inspiring and say that to your audience and to everybody. I wouldn't say it's gotten easier, but what I would say is I don't sweat the small stuff anymore at all. The small stuff isn't as hard as it was a few years ago. And so I've learned to know when I need to pause and stay up until 3 o'clock in the morning to get something right. And I've learned to let other things go that maybe at one point were so catastrophic, but they're not really catastrophic. So in some respects, entrepreneurship is still hard, business is still hard, but you learn how to ride the wave instead of fight it. The more you do it.
Yeah, would it be fair to say that it doesn't get any easier, you just learn how to manage, or you've gotten stronger or more, let's say, wiser? You've gotten wiser on how to work smarter, not harder.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's exactly, I remember hearing that from like, Think and Grow Rich or whatever, just like work smarter, not harder. Well, I don't know what that means. You don't really know what that actually means until you've lived it. Then you're like, okay, that's what that means. I get it.
Right. Okay. So now we're in Zoe. We're ready to, we've launched beta. We've got this new round of funding. We're going to hit our KPIs. Were you afraid to kind of launch it in the form it was, version A or version 1.0?
Yeah.
I'm sure it probably wasn't the most polished. How did that feel emotionally when you were like, all right, we need beta users? And then I mean, imagine it must have been a good surprise that 75 people joined in a couple of days. How did it feel though to kind of give this thing you've been working on for 2, 3 years to the general public, at least some beta users?
Yes, such a good question. That is probably one of the most powerful questions. There was a mentor I had in Techstars that once said, "You know that you have a business when you're ready to birth the baby." So, meaning that I remember distinctly, it was before we launched, when I started transitioning from being a coach and being uh, Zoe and Nichole being one of the same to being a CEO and looking at my company from outside of myself almost and looking at it as a business person, looking at it as a person that was looking at the company and thinking about the tech and thinking about the customers and all of that, and knowing that there was this somewhat of a separation of having Zoe be Nichole and Nichole be Zoe, to letting that go, and then having the CEO in me now take that baby and build it. And I remember that feeling. It felt scary. It felt like vulnerable. It felt like, is she going to be taken care of? Are these people I'm hiring, are they gonna take care of her? Like, am I gonna be able to see that? Am I gonna be able to know, like, I'm sure, like, if you when the first time you take your children to daycare, it's like, what happens when I'm not there? Because now all of a sudden I can't see every little tiny detail of what's happening with Zoe, and you have to bring in people that you trust, and you have to build this team, and you have to trust the process, and it's like, that was a really hard thing for me. It was a really hard thing for me to transition, but I did. But then what I found is, then with the CEO hat on, one thing that I found is I went from like, she's perfect, my perfect little child is perfect and everybody wants her, to the tech's not stable. We're having these bugs over here. I'm not sure, like, we don't have enough money to build out the AWS structure to like handle like 5,000 coaches coming on overnight. Now all of a sudden, now I'm afraid to launch her because I'm not sure she's going to be able to handle it. So now I've got all this scary stuff going on in my mind.
Yeah, I mean, tech companies are a little different because you have to launch it when it's not perfect. It's kind of ugly.
Yeah.
Not that Zoe's ugly, but in the very first version, nobody would say, yes, Amazon on day one in 1999 was a perfect version of what we all wanted, or
Yeah.
what people who like Amazon think of it today, or Google even, or any other kind of tech software that we all use. Never was perfect on day one. How does that, you said, this is my perfect little baby. How did you, knowing that it has bugs, how did you approach that with your beta users?
Yeah. It was hard because the beta users that I had when the tech broke, they were so kind and nice, but they were frustrated and all of that. And the hardest part for that is that they were part of my community. So they were like, it was personal for me because a lot of people, that I knew. When I launched MVP 1.0, I was, everybody was saying, well, go out and do a bunch of paid advertisement, drop 20 grand, do paid advertisement, bring all these people on, because that's what you do when you're an entrepreneur. And I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I could not. I could not, with that MVP, look myself in the eye and tell coaches to come to the product the way it was 2 years ago and deal with that because it was so unknown, it was so foreign to me. So what we did was, in spite of like a lot of people telling me to do it differently, is we brought on just like pre-founding coaches. Like we brought on a cohort of coaches, and we uncovered a lot of issues. And so then we squashed those bugs and we dealt with that. And then I brought on a cohort of founding coaches, and they were amazing. I mean, these coaches, I gave them lifetime access to Zoe, and we had webinars, and we did these, like, a couple of boot camps, business, like helping them with their business. And we just really had such an amazing experience with them that we did that over about 6 months. And we learned so much. We uncovered so much. We had so many things that we were able to like fine tune with the tech and stabilize the tech. And I'm very proud of the fact that we did that, but we did it differently. We absolutely did it differently than how they tell you to do it. But I did it with integrity. I knew we were too soon to scale. And case in point, that what happened is, as we were building and we had this like small cohort of people on, and we were starting to get to stabilization, we felt like we were stable. So then I connected with ICF. We became a preferred business partner. I think I got that letter in like in June of 2024. We launched an email campaign with them the second week in July, I think it was, and that went out to like 50,000 coaches. We started getting a lot of signups, and we had a cyber attack.
No.
A massive, massive cyber attack. It was a sophisticated money laundering scheme that got through ID verification on Stripe and allowed these bad actors to set up coach accounts. And I don't know if you remember a couple years ago when there was this like big, huge identity theft with Wells Fargo, that all the Wells Fargo, like this is part of that. And so then I was actually meeting some girlfriends, and my phone was like blowing up, with messages from my tech people saying, there's a really sophisticated bot. There's like at superhuman speeds, they're setting up these accounts and trying to, these stolen identities, and this whole hundreds of thousands of dollars before we could stop it. And we were able to stop it, and it was just unbelievable. And so that took us down. One would think that that moment would have broken me, but I don't know. I think I was so overwhelmed. And so our customers were fine. Like our customers were fine on the platform. It was this money laundering thing that happened. But what happened, Scott, is here we are. We were forced to shut down because if we opened up, we didn't know where that was, like, we didn't know that there was going to be more attacks, because the attacks were not happening on our APIs or with AWS. The attack happened through the ID verification with Stripe. And so because that was out of our control, we had no idea if we turned it back on, what was going to happen, because nobody knew exactly where this was happening. So during that process, we chose at that time, because this went on for about 2 months back and forth with tech support at Stripe to try to get us back online. And this was going on for about 4 or 5 weeks. And we're like, we're losing money. We got to get to the bottom of this, because we're losing money at this point. We need to turn this thing back on. And we can never get to the point with them to turn it back on. So then we decided to jump ship, and we decided to partner with PayPal. And PayPal came in and did a fabulous job. They gave us a solutions account manager, a dedicated tech support person, but we had to refactor everything, because the billing is kind of our secret sauce. It connects with everything in our automation. And so we had a full blown like 3-month refactoring job that we had to do.
So you're not able to collect money from the people who were trying to pay you at this point.
No.
What did you tell them?
So 99.99% of what happened with the fraud was the bad actors and the stolen identities. So we got calls from the victims, and we just worked with Wells Fargo, and we just, made sure that we were helping the way we could with what was happening over here, which were non-customers. The customers that who couldn't get paid, I did something completely unprecedented. I spoke to my husband, Michael. We paid him and we said, any monies that are owed to you from your clients, we're going to cover that. We're going to put that into your bank account. And, if and when, we get recouped, then, we'll send you a bill. So that's what we did. Our customers were very overwhelmed, but we developed some great relationships and some very loyal customers out through that experience.
Wow, that's crazy. Not knowing if you would ever get that money back, you kind of gave people what they were because they're counting on this too for their own livelihoods.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, it was the right move. When you're faced with a hard decision, it's just, I was always taught just make the right decision. It'll work out the way it works out.
I love that. Okay, so now hopefully that's the last major bomb that you get hit with
Yes.
a couple of years ago. So what's your favorite part of working with Zoe? What is your favorite part of Zoe today?
I love my favorite part is every time I hear from a coach, like one of our customers, I feel like a business person. Like I actually feel like I'm in command of my business and things are happening and thank you. And this has been great. Feels like such a big, massive, this is why we're doing it. We're creating amazing businesses so they can go out and create a ripple. And I think the other thing is that I'm very proud of the fact that when I hire people, I don't hire based on resumes. I have one question and everything kind of, goes from there. But my first question is, are you a kind person? Like, are you? Are you kind? Because
Does anybody say no?
nobody says no, but then the follow-up questions you can tell.
Right.
But I lead with that. And I can tell you that my team is amazing. They all stayed with me through the cyber attack. And let me tell you, with the financial challenge that we had during that time and payroll and the fact that they stayed was extraordinary. So I'm very proud of the fact that we built an incredible team, an incredible community.
So for coaches looking at Zoe, and we haven't gotten into the details yet, what does Zoe do today for somebody what would be a person that would want to come and like love the heck out of Zoe?
Yeah.
Why
So
would they sign up for it?
sure. Great question. So for any coaches out there that are starting or running a business, whether you're a student just starting or running a business, Zoe is a home for your business. It is a simple all-in-one practice. We thought of everything from, being able to meet with your clients in a sacred space that's safe and secure, HIPAA compliant, to all the admin stuff that you need, beautiful landing page website to be able to promote and build your brand. And so what it is it really is this simple business in a box, turnkey. You can get up in a couple of hours and focus on what you do best. But the biggest thing that I want to say, or the biggest thing, is that right? English? But the most important thing to say about Zoe, the biggest thing about making that choice to come to us is that we're building community. We build community over competition. And so everything that we do, from customer support, responding in a couple of minutes and knowing your name and helping you with your business and getting on a, screen share call with you. You're not a ticket, you're a person, to building our webinars, our education, our business boot camps. It's all about coming in as you are, and just enjoying the journey with other like-minded people and building community.
I love that focus on community because it's quite lonely as an entrepreneur, as you likely know. So it's nice to have other people to go through it with and just connect because a lot of times our friends and loved ones in our physical communities don't always understand the journey that you've been on or other and entrepreneurs have been on too. So I love the community aspect.
Yeah, so true.
What would you say to somebody who and you're like, all right, great. These are all the tools for you to start your business. And you clearly don't have this issue, but somebody who is afraid to make a pivot, maybe start this on the side, what would you kind of say to anybody that has been hesitant on that as a former coach yourself and somebody who has been coaching other coaches on this entire journey, irrespective of Zoe, which is amazing, and I've had a chance to preview it. What would you say to somebody who's kind of like on the fence there?
Yeah. Well, I'd say the first thing is that how bad do you want it? Have a meeting with yourself. Look yourself in the eye, go for a walk. How bad do you want it? If this is something that's a seed in you and it just keeps gnawing at you and you're like, man, this is just something I'm really feeling really passionate and excited about. I may not know the answers or I might not know how that's going to show up in my life, but I just have this excitement about it. If you're feeling pulled towards something, if you're feeling pulled towards it, and that's what this feeling is rooted in, then I would say go for it. And how you approach that is different for every single listener on this call. It's different for all of us. Sometimes it means that you need to think about making sure that you have a 6-month runway at least in your bank account. It means sometimes that you work part time and start working on the side. It means that whatever's right for you is what you need to do. And the most important thing to do is once you make that decision, talk to your people around you. You need to let your family know. If you have a partner, if you're married, if you have children, they need to know that this is what you want to do. And you need to ask them and you need to talk to them truthfully about this is what our life is going to be like. I may not be able to show up to all the soccer games. I may not make all the dinners. Honey, you might have to cook dinners from now on or sometimes. Kids, I love you, but dad's not going to be there all the time, but I'm going to balance this. You need your people to be fully in the room with you and be with you as you make that decision because that's so important. You want to be in alignment with your family. And then the third thing is going back to keeping it simple. Keep it simple. Get your certification. It's really simple. Get your certification, graduate, get an all-in-one platform like Zoe so you're not taking 6 months to figure out how to hack together Calendly, Zoom, and billing and all that, which is just a distraction, and start building your community.
I love that. And I want to bring it back to something you said. And it's actually similar to a quote that I refer back to often from a different podcast with the founder of Sam Adams Beer, the brewing company. He had a very similar answer to you when the host asked him, weren't you afraid? Like he had no brewing background. He never started a brewing company. Everybody's like, weren't you afraid? He said, like you did, I was more afraid of staying and waking up as I think he was an accountant. I was more afraid of being an accountant in 10 years, 20 years than this not working. So I wasn't trying to lead you there, but I love that philosophy. And it's a frame that one of my coaches, my business coaches, kind of says a lot. It's like, what would 80-year-old you look back on and think, yeah, I nailed it, or I'm really glad I took that chance, or I really wish I took that chance. And so that's a frame that I go with a lot. And so if anybody that's kind of on the fence, kind of look at it, to you said too, Nichole, looking at it from outside of your body or outside perspective. That's a frame that I like to use from my coach, which is, yeah, I mean, it's scary. It's going to be scary. And as Nichole demonstrated, it will be hard. It may not be that hard, but it will have hard times and you may want to quit. But who are you trying to impress, or what is it that you're doing here on this earth that you can look back on and say, okay, I'm proud of that. This is the thing. And if it's not starting your business, then great, at least you know. But if it is, that frame might help you decide, okay, I don't want to stay in my corporate job. I don't want to be chained to this desk, or I don't want to be doing what I'm currently doing in 10 years or 15 years. So I really appreciate you. You didn't know that was a core belief of mine, but I really appreciate your answer on that one too.
It's beautiful. I love that, Scott. And it's such good advice. It really is when you think about the future and you look back on your life and you think, okay, that kind of helps you make some decisions in the moment. How am I going to feel about this 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 80 years from now?
Yeah, I mean, I think we all have to go through that kind of fear of jumping. Seemed like you were able to handle it faster than most people. I remember being so afraid to leave my big law firm. This safe, secure job and all that. And I get a lot of funny looks. And so half of them were like, "You're crazy." The other half were like, "I'm glad you're escaping this place a little bit," or at least that's how I read into them. So I think you will. Anybody that's considering leaving, you'll get pushback because it's not part of the story that other people have for you, and it doesn't fit their narrative of how your life's supposed to go. So you have to Nicole's point, make the decision first, I would say, before you go talk to your family about it. And, don't just be like, I've made this decision and this is it. But you have to be convicted before you have those conversations, I think.
Yeah, that's so good. I would be really curious to hear how you navigated all of that, especially when you've got so much noise coming from positive, negative. Like how did you navigate that experience?
Yeah, that's a whole different podcast episode. We'll keep it on you today. I mean, I've gotten into it in the past and I will in the future again. But yeah, I love that. I love the question and I have stories. All right. So where's Zoe going? Where is it going to be in 10 years? And where will Nichole be in 10 years?
Oh, 10 years. Okay. Good question. Yes. Where Zoe's going is we're just going to keep building and trusting and building community and listening to our customers and building things that helps the coaching industry move forward. Where we will be is I envision that Zoe will be a thought leader, will be a very progressive company that is building incredible opportunities for transformation, for creating a ripple effect to help uplift humanity. Um, because we're not just a tool. The tool is the starting point. This tool is what gets you going and gets you as the coach building a stable, strong, profitable business. And once we get to stable, strong profitability, then we can start taking a look at, okay, where are we going? And this industry is still super, super young. I mean, really, we just got on the map back in the late 1990s, with Tony Robbins, and it's still young and it's still the second fastest growing profession in the world, next to IT and all of that. There's a hunger for this and we need this. So where do I see myself in 10 years? I don't know. I still see myself fighting the good fight and building just a really great company and, great businesses for other coaches.
It sounds like you place a lot of emphasis on community. What does the Zoe community do internally? And then what ripple effect does that have across its impact?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's something that we're really passionate about, but we're also it's something that we're really passionate about and it's something that we're just starting. But what we're doing is we're building webinars where we come together as a group every month, and every month we learn about different things around business and other things as well. And we have inside the application where coaches can connect with each other in the application and create power partners. We have coaches who have reached out to other coaches and have created great partnerships within Zoe. They meet on Zoe because it's a full, built-in video. So they schedule sessions with each other and they meet with each other. So they're building out things that way. But one of the things I'm excited about too is that we have a spotlight program for coaches. So for coaches who are Zoe members, the spotlight program is like this. We interview you, we do a blog on you, we put a ton of SEO on that, we publish it, we push it out to social media, and that we do a link back to your Zoe website. And so we're really having fun with that and we're pushing that spotlight program out. And I'm envisioning that we'll just continue to add additional things to that, additional webinars, additional opportunities to support coaches as they go out and speak and as they go out and try to build their businesses. We really want to be that wind beneath your wings, so to speak, where we can fuel good businesses to go out there and just build great communities. So that's where we are.
I think the value of something like Zoe too is you don't go into health coaching because you love figuring out tech tools. And so I think part of the solution is this just kind of gets all the crappy stuff out of the way so that you can focus on your community and helping the people that you want to coach and spreading health in your community and beyond. That's how I see it as an outsider. Someone like, why would I go to Zoe? Because having built an online company for the past 10 years, tech often gets in the way. And Zoe, I've had a chance to play around with it, and it's super easy. So I think that's a great, at least, way to check it out. Where can we find you?
Zoe.com. And the two E's matter. So Zoee.com and Zoee.com is where they can check us out.
Zoe, Zoee.com or at Zoe app across most of the social media platforms. Nichole, thank you for joining us today. It was so fun talking to you.
Thank you so much, Scott. Really appreciate being here. This was an amazing, amazing conversation. Really great time. Thank you.
My pleasure. All right, don't go anywhere. I know we went over quite a bit, but that was so fun. We may have to cut some of that down because this was long. Well, I never wanted that one to end. That was Nichole Lowe, founder of Zoee.com, board certified health coach, and someone who built and rebuilt more times than most people ever try for the first time. So if you're a coach or practitioner thinking about launching your own practice, or you're struggling in the muck, spending more time fighting your tech stack than serving your clients, go check out Zoe at Zoee.com. That's Zoee.com. And also on all of the socials at Zoe app and follow them there. And if this episode hit home for you, whether it was the fears, the career pivots, the uncertainty, and if you're one of those people that's on the fence doing the math, whether the risk of jumping is really bigger than the cost of staying, I hope Nichole's story gave you something to sit with. If it did and it was valuable to you, please share with a colleague or friend who might need this information. Consider leaving us a review. And thank you so much for being here. If you made it this far, we appreciate you. I'm Scott Radigan. See you next time on the Radigan Roundtable.